Okay, well, it is 10 o'clock, so we can go ahead and get started if that works for you, Steve.
Yep, good to go.
Okay, well, welcome and good morning, everyone. This is Dana Myers with Southeast Community College, and I would like to thank all of you for joining us for Getting a Grip on Project Risk. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that you have joined us without video or audio. However, we are hoping to create an interactive session, so you will receive prompts from Steve to submit questions or voice comments during the webinar. We will also have a Q&A session following the presentation. Please submit any questions you have in the Zoom Q&A feature, and we will answer as many as our time allows. That being said, I would like to introduce Steve Slate. Steve has more than 30 years of project experience and has taught for more than 5 years at the university level. Work experience includes several years at the Hewlett-Packard Company, as well as work with various nonprofits. He now owns Witerations, LLC, that helps clients not just think outside of the box, but to literally outwit the box. Steve is a certified project management professional, a certified Scrum Master, and holds a bachelor's and master's degrees from Colorado Christian University. And with that, I will turn everything over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Dana. I appreciate it, and it's good to see you. It looks like we have about 20 with us today, and glad that you've all taken a risk to spend an hour with us, and hopefully that this time will pay off for you. So today we're looking at getting a grip on project risk. So Dana has done a great job with the introduction, much better than, it sounds much better than it really is. So I appreciate that, Dana. And we'll just go ahead and continue on. So in a minute, I'm going to ask a couple of you to jump in and introduce yourselves just real briefly. I'd like to get a feel of who you are, why you're here, at least a couple of you. The others maybe can just send something through chat, but I would just like to kind of get a feel of what's going on here and who's here. So just a couple things. If you're calling in and not on a computer and you talk, make sure that your phone is not on mute. And so there's the chat button that you'll see at the bottom of your screen. You have to kind of roll over it to highlight it, and then you can see it. So, all right. I also have taking a risk today myself and using some survey software that I've not used before. And when I was working with it on my own, it worked well. And then today, just at the beginning of this, we were trying it, kind of hung up on the screen a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and take a risk. But at a certain point, we'll ask you to text to that number or to go to swiftpulling.com and enter 13228. And we'll see your responses live on the screen, assuming it works and that the risk works for us. So we'll give that a shot today and see how that goes. You don't need to go there now, but at some point, if you have a phone or other device, iPad or whatever. Well, I really do miss face-to-face classes. As you know, most of those have been shut down at the school and at most schools, if not all. And I do miss that because you get a lot of a feel for who's there and why they're there, and you can get some really good discussion in. But if I could get 2 or 3 brave souls to just raise your hand, back on this screen, there's a little raise the hand button. And if you could go ahead and raise your hand and just say, hey, I'd like to say my first name, my company, and what I hope to get from the day, I would love to hear from you. So do we have anybody that would be willing to jump in for just a second and tell us who you are and why you're here? Do we have any brave souls, Dana or Luke? Is it all quiet on the Western Front? All right, so that's all right.
It actually looks like we've got a couple of raised hands and a couple of notes in chat.
Okay.
We should have everybody muted unless you want us to specifically unmute someone.
Yeah, go ahead and unmute the ones with the raised hand, and let's hear from them.
Looks like Jennifer should be able to say something.
This is Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead.
Yep, I'm just continuing on the series I was on last week, and I've signed up. I think
Excellent.
there's 5 of them in total, or whatever the series is. So I'm just continuing on with the series.
All right, great. I appreciate you coming back. That's great. All right, somebody else?
Well, we've got a couple of notes in chat.
For some reason, my chat is not showing up for me. I'm not sure.
We've got a Bob Wood from New Age Manufacturing in Plattsmouth.
Okay, great.
It looks like Janet Scott is from Southeast Community College.
All right. Good. Welcome to all of you. Well, let's go ahead and continue on. I'm not sure why I don't have a chat feature on my screen, but we'll look into that at some point. So I might rely on you, Luke, a little bit to help me out on that one. So.
All right. Well, we do have a couple other people from LES chiming in.
Good.
So.
Excellent. Welcome, LES. Glad to have you guys here. All right. So let's keep going here. So what exactly is a risk? A risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has an effect on at least one project objective. So a risk is an uncertainty. Now, I don't know about you guys, but well, let's use the chat function here real quick. And Luke, I'll have to get your help on this again. But let's use the chat function here for a minute. Think for a minute. When I say go, type in a project idea that might include a risk. So I'd love to have everybody participate if you can. So for an example, a risk management class. That's a project where there might be some risk. For example, I might decide not to show up that day, or I might not look at my clock, or whatever the case might be. So in just a second, let's look at some of the risks. Let's just type in some projects in chat, some ideas. Luke, if you don't mind, and read those off as they come in. What's your idea, your project idea, and then we're just going to talk about those for just a second. So go ahead and go type those in.
Any project where people and money are involved.
Okay. And if you can name a project where people and money are not involved, I'd like to see that. So almost every project has people and money. Anything else? Up there's my chat screen. Okay.
Hey, great.
Now I've got it. It was hiding under more.
All right, I'm going to mute myself unless asked.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Any project where people and money are involved? 5-week principles of macroeconomics class. Wow. Okay. Yes, Janet, that would be risky. Change of reporting systems. Yes, that's a huge risk. Just the change. Kaizen on different departments within the company. Good. Employee training with an inexperienced trainer. So good. Yeah, these are all projects. Employee training with an inexperienced trainer, huge risk there. So almost every project involves some degree of risk. You can't get out of it. And again, if we look back at that, risk is an uncertain event. And I don't know how about you guys, but risk is an uncertainty. And it looks like we have a couple more that came in. Project on what fake news class? What is fake news class? Interesting. Launching new student cohort communication tools. Good. Yes. Yes. All of those involve significant risk in different ways. So risk is an uncertainty, and we're living in uncertain times, aren't we? I don't know how many times you've heard that on the news. It seems like every commercial, pretty much every web ad says we're living in uncertain times. And if you can tell me of some time when it hasn't been uncertain, I'd like to hear about that as well, because all times are uncertain. These are just a little more uncertain than what we're used to. But that's what a risk is. Interestingly, that is the definition of a risk, is uncertainty. Again, an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has an effect on at least one project objective. So uncertainty does not necessarily mean bad. That's one of the fundamentals of risk management, is uncertain does not necessarily mean it's bad. Risks can be good. They can actually present opportunities. So something good can happen, even if it's called a risk, it can be a positive. So example here is the facilitator might not show up, and Dana has to teach the class for me, and the world discovers how amazing Dana is as a facilitator. So that might be a risk where it's come in and it turns out to be a really good thing. Dana's smiling. I can see her on my screen up there. She's going, yeah, I know I could do this better, right? So let's unpack this just a little bit. A couple things maybe you didn't know. Uncertainties viewed as, and maybe you did know, uncertainties viewed as negative effects are known as a threat. So if it's an uncertainty and it's viewed as negative, the consequences of that could be negative. It's a threat to your project. But uncertainties viewed as positive effects are known as opportunities. So one of the purposes of risk management then is to help reduce uncertainties. And that means even reduce the things that we don't know about the opportunities. I know it's getting kind of convoluted here, but I want to make sure we understand that risk is not necessarily bad. Risk can be good. There could be a good outcome to risk. So if risk can be good and risks are uncertainties, why would we want to reduce something with the chance of something good happening? Well, the short answer is we don't. We don't want to reduce positive things, but we want to reduce the uncertainties that surround those. And we want to learn how to exploit those opportunities. So as you're planning a project, if you were with me a couple of weeks ago, several of you looks like you were, if you were with me a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how a lot of project management is simply planning in advance. So before you start launch, if you're like me, my natural tendency is to be I want to do this, let's jump in and let's just do it. Well, project management says, hang on, step back a little bit, let's slow down, let's take some time planning. And risk management is an important part of planning. And so again, as you're looking at risks, you're looking at the negative and you're looking at the positive. And so you're looking at how can this risk actually benefit the project? And you try to do that. You look at all the different options ahead of time in your planning process. And by the end of the class, we'll have at least a tool for you to use for that. So in other words, you look for threats and opportunities while planning so you can watch for them while executing your project. You watch for them so you can mitigate them. You watch for them so you can exploit them and use them to the benefit of the project. Exploit's not a bad word when it comes to project management if something comes up that you can use to help the project. So you ask, Steve, why should I manage risks? Well, this is a key, and I hope you remember this. By putting reasonable effort into risk management, we are able to respond to risks, which are threats or opportunities. We're able to respond rather than simply react. So what happens in so many cases is something comes up in a project that goes bad, and boom, we're off and we react. We do something crazy that may not be the best thing for the project. Why? Because we're reacting to it. We haven't taken the time to look at the options, to look at the possible benefits, and we're not able to respond. We simply react. I hope that resonates with you. So if you see the subtle difference, respond versus react. Are you reactionary, or have you planned enough that you're able to respond with a good, coherent response? So let's see by a show of hands real quick. And I'm not sure if I can see the show of hands. I think Luke can see that. And maybe Luke, you can just tell me how many hands pop up. Yeah, maybe I can see it. We'll see here. Go to the attendee side here and let's see if we can do that. Yep, there they are. All right, so let's see. Let's see by responsive hands. Is this a response or a reaction? The facilitator didn't show up to class canceled. What do you think that is? Is that a reaction? If you think it's a reaction, raise your hand. Okay, see several hands up. Yep. Okay, bunch of hands. All right, good. Yeah, I think that's a reaction. We react naturally. You can go ahead and put those hands down. We react naturally by going, he didn't show up, let's go, we're not even going to do it. It's not going to happen. So is this a response or a reaction? If you think it's a response, raise your hand. And the The word here is, my name is Dana, and I'm the facilitator didn't show up, but I've got his PowerPoint, I'm going in. So is that a response, do you think? Yeah, a few hands. Okay. I would say yes. I would say yes. That would be more of a response because she has my PowerPoint. She's obviously looked over it. She knows what the content is, and she's able to take it. She's planned ahead enough to go, I can respond to this crisis by Steve not showing up today. I can respond to this by, I've got it. I'm taking it. So now I wasn't nice enough to give Dana the whole presentation in advance, so that wouldn't have happened. But maybe next time I'll do that, just in case I don't show up. But then we'll see how good Dana is, which I know she'd do a phenomenal job. So response to reaction. Here's one last little exercise. Again, by a show of hands, is this if you think this is a reaction? I'm a firefighter and I see a building on fire. I'm going in. Is that a reaction? Do you think? Raise your hand if you think it is. Okay, see a hand or two. I would certainly see a case to call it a reaction. I think that's more of a response because firefighters are trained to go in. That's what they're training. I don't even think that there's a second thought, so that it is a reaction, a natural reaction, but it's a natural reaction based upon a response to do what they're trained to do. So yeah, that's a huge risk, but they know what the benefit is of their expertise going in there, hopefully stopping what could be a bad situation. So that's a response versus a reaction. And I think a response is an educated, thoughtful approach to a risk or an uncertainty, same thing, when it happens. So do we have any questions? Well, let's take a quick review and then I'll ask. You can throw a question in the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand and ask it out loud. I'm okay with that. So quick review. What exactly is a risk? Again, a risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has an effect on at least one project objective. And again, notice it doesn't say it has a negative effect. It has an effect. So it could be negative as a threat. It could be positive as an opportunity. And by putting reasonable effort into risk management, we're able to respond to risks rather than simply react to risks. Any questions you'd like to ask? Looks like we might have one there.
Yeah, let me pop that open.
Okay.
The question is, I feel like a response is something that is planned. If A happens, then do this. If B happens, then do this other thing.
I would agree with you, Laura, and I think that's what I hope to convey. Hopefully I'm conveying that, is that a response is something that is planned. So you've taken the time and planning ahead of your project execution, and you've got all these plans outlined. If something happens, you're going to go one direction. If something else happens, you go a different direction. So yeah, I would fully agree with that. All right. Any other questions or comments? I'd love to see them. Would a proactive-based outline, I'm not sure I understand that question, Terry. Could you follow up? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. Would a proactive-based, cover both these actions? Would a proactive-based outline cover both these actions? So a reaction versus a response? Yeah, I would say you could react better too, but if I'm understanding the question right, I think that if you are proactive and you've covered the planning and you've got your homework done ahead of time, I think there might be room for reaction, but it really is more of a response, because it's not just a quick reaction that's not thought through, not planned out. Not sure if I answered that quite right, but that's the idea, is that it's not just a simple reaction that's just we take the quick response and just run with it, but we've thought it out, we've planned it out ahead of time. Let's dig a little further into this. Maybe this will add I'm thinking you could, oh, I see what you're saying, Terry. Okay, I'm thinking you can plan for both reactions. Okay, yeah, you can absolutely can, but I believe that the reaction becomes a response when you plan. I believe that when you simply react, it's because you haven't planned as much as you should. And that when you respond, you're responding because you have planned. So I hope that makes sense. Let me unpack that a little further here. We're gonna go try this poll software, and this could blow up on us. And if it does, I apologize. We'll just take a second and we'll get back to it. But we're gonna do something here. So get ready on your phones, or get ready to go to swiftpolling.com. Probably better if you do it on a different device than your computer, but I think it'll work as well. So here's the poll. What I'd like to ask is, if you're currently working from home, how long have you been doing so? Text 1 if it's 5 years or more. Text 2 if it's something happened to my answers here. Oh, 2. I'm sorry. No, this is right. 2 to 5 years, 1 to 2 years, or around 2 to 3 months. So let's try that, and let's see if we can get some responses here. So hopefully you're seeing the screen, and okay, there we go. Around 2 to 3 months. Let's see if anybody else. Anybody been working 5 years or more from home? Anybody been working 2 to 5 years, 1 to 2 years? Okay. What I can't see from this poll is how many people are actually answering this. So that might be one person, it might be all of you, I'm not sure. But the point being here that a huge risk took place about 2 months ago. And if I can get to the next screen, and of course it's gonna make it a little hard for me to get there. Okay, I might have to drop my screen for just a second here. And we'll get back to it here in just a second. All right. Apologize for the delay here. Okay, am I back up with the quick poll?
You are.
All right, thank you, Dana. So a lot has happened in the last few months. I don't know anybody who saw that coming. I don't know anybody who really knows what's coming next. Things have changed. The risk of a global pandemic shutting businesses down has left quite a dent. But it's also created some opportunity, quite honestly. So here's an interesting graph that I pulled off the web. What happened in daily downloads of grocery delivery apps in the US. So through February 15 up until right around March, right around the 1st of March, it started upticking. And then when the whole pandemic thing really clicked in, it just skyrocketed. People were downloading the Walmart grocery app just like crazy. It went from an average of 20,000 all the way up to almost 60,000, 50, 55,000 in just a few days. I saw another graph that I was actually looking for when I found this one. And on March 11th, grocery stores, Walmart, so forth, it was a similar graph. And around March 11th and 12th, when some announcements were made, and all of a sudden the shutdown began to happen. Again, that's when toilet paper disappeared. That's when other wipes disappeared, things like that, just wiped off the face of the earth, it seemed like. So nobody could have, I say nobody could have planned for it. I think there were people planning for it. I don't know that anybody expected it, that's for sure. So was the pandemic a threat or an opportunity? I would say yes. It was a threat, but for some it turned into an opportunity. And boy, I tell you, it's not the kind of opportunity we want, but it certainly came about. So that brings us to an important question of, how do you get a grip? Even during this global pandemic, the key, I believe, is in planning. So once again, we go back to the whole project management thing of, you front load the planning so that when the execution of the project happens, you're able to go through it quickly. and do so better and more efficiently with the ability to respond as things come up. So the key is in planning. So Dwight Eisenhower at one point said, plans are nothing, planning is everything. And I think that's the key. We're gonna ask your thoughts on that in just a second. We're gonna try this software again one more time, and we'll see how it goes. And that might be it for the day. We'll see. But I'd like to get your thoughts on plans are nothing, planning is everything. So what do you think President Eisenhower's quote means? Plans are nothing, planning is everything. Go ahead and go back to that poll and swift polling at 13228, or just text it in and text your answer. What do you think President Eisenhower's quote means? Plans are nothing, planning is everything. Collaborate on critical thinking, good. Anybody else? More time should be spent planning than executing, I agree. You have to remain flexible and adaptive, good. Planning is an ongoing process, excellent. Good, 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 all these are good. Anybody else? Plans are nothing, planning is everything. Plans are good, but nothing goes the way it is supposed to. Have to keep planning for things that could happen. Plans can be thwarted, planning prepares for the unexpected. If plans are not created with careful, thorough thought, they are not useful. Okay? Good. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? So let me tell you what I think, and feel free to add to this as we go. Let me tell you what I think. Plans are nothing, planning is everything. I think one of them, let's see, nothing goes the way that we plan is kind of where we're coming from with this, or where I think he was coming from. But the value still lies in planning, because now you have a repository of ideas, you have a repository of thoughts, you have a repository of things that you can go back to. So no, your planning didn't absolutely address this, and this, but now you've got all these ideas, all these plans that you've made, all these mitigations that you've thought of. So you're ready to go. If that risk does show up, you're ready to go with some really good ideas that you can take and manipulate and use. So no, nothing is going to go exactly as planned, but if you don't take the time planning, you're not going to have any of those ideas to work with. Does that make sense? Any questions on that you want to throw up in the Q&A box? Do you have any questions on that? Or you can throw it up here too on this poll if you'd like, if you have a question, either way. Otherwise, we'll keep rolling here. All right. Let me see if I can actually get out of this box here. Of course, I cannot without shutting it down. So we'll be right back here with just in a second. I want to make sure I don't shut down the wrong thing. Boy, this thing is being stubborn here. It is not wanting to leave. Usually they give you a way to get out, and this is just being really stubborn here. I apologize for the delay here. There we go. All right. Get to where we need to be, and we'll go back here. All right. Too many windows. So again, risk management is all about planning. Your specific plans may not be an exact fit in the heat of the battle, but your repository of plans and mitigations are going to end up to be priceless as you're in the heat of the battle. All right. So the tools make all the difference. So if you have the right tools to look at, and maybe you've seen this, but this is called what I'm going to show you is called the probability impact matrix. And so as you're in the planning phase, as you're doing the plans and trying to figure out all of your ideas for what could happen, one of the tools that you can use is called the probability impact matrix. And that I'm pulling up right now. Should be able to see it on your screen. And what it is it's just simply a matrix, 1 to 10 on the left side, 1 to 10 on the right side, or on the bottom, I'm sorry. And as you come up against things that you think of, possible risks that you think of, I like to, one of the exercises I like to do is we talk about a project. So you guys brought up some ideas, like a project on a fake news class, Kaizen on different departments, training with an inexperienced trainer. Let's take that one, new employee training with an inexperienced trainer. So your company now has training. Your trainer is not experienced at training new people. So you're going to go down and you're going to meet with 2 or 3 people. Maybe they've done this before. And you're going to say, okay, what are some of the inherent risks of having an inexperienced trainer do the training? So let's go ahead and in the chat box, go ahead and give me some ideas of risks that could be inherent with an inexperienced trainer. Use your chat and tell me what are some risks that could be involved in that. Give you just a minute here. Not being able to answer the questions correctly. Okay. Providing the wrong information and not be, okay, providing the wrong information. Inexperienced person will be 100% risk, okay. Students and employees will not attend future sessions, good. Okay, let's take that one. Let's take students and employees will not attend future sessions. So, what is the probability of that happening with an inexperienced trainer? Let's have everybody in the chat box again type in, what do you think the probability is that employees and students will not attend a future session? What is the probability of that happening because of an inexperienced trainer? Go ahead and type that into chat, just a number, 1 through 10. Okay, 7, 9, 3. Keep them coming, 5, 7. Okay, 5. So what you're telling me is the probability of students coming back, I would say, I'm not a big math guy, but I would say the average here is probably around 6. So collectively, you have told me that the probability of a student not coming back is somewhere around 6. Now, tell me what the impact would be of students not coming back or employees not coming back to any other classes. Is the impact high? Is the impact a 10? Is the impact just a 1? Or is it somewhere in between? So we know the probability now is roughly 6. What's the impact? I see a 10. 9, 5, 8. Okay, bad reputation, yep. So I'm seeing higher numbers here, 10 9s and 8s. I see a 5. So I'm just, again, not being a math guy, I would say that we're probably in the 7 to 8 range. So if you're on this probability impact matrix, somewhere in here is kind of where that lies. So does that make sense? I'm hoping it does, is that you would put on this matrix that somewhere in here is the probability of that happening. So what you're now doing is you're asking a question, do we want to take the risk of an inexperienced trainer? How do you do that? Do you put somebody in the class with them? How do you mitigate that? We're going to talk about mitigation in just a minute. But now we know where that lies on here. Now, as we go forward, so during the planning session, and this is pretty much what we've done, is you end up writing down every possible risk. I think it's good to do it in groups of at least 3 or 4 people. Write down the risks, you assign them the impact, and you assign them the probability. We just did it reverse, probability then impact, but that's irrelevant. You just want to map it out then on the matrix. Impact of 10 and a probability of 10, that's going to go way up at the top right-hand corner. That's a big deal. So you want to watch for that kind of thing. So now the other thing is that's important here, and the last line here is you also determine your risk thresholds. So as a group, you come together in a room, 3 to 5 people maybe. You're planning, you're writing down risks, you're assigning them to this matrix. The next thing you want to do is decide what your risk threshold is. You know how big your project is. You know how much money is at stake with your organization. So the question is, where do these lines go? So you see the red, you see the green. You can use whatever colors you want, but you decide what the threshold is. This may be a big enough deal for your company that the threshold of reds goes all the way across here. Anything landing in the top right, anything landing, is something that you're going to take time to mitigate. You may decide that it's not a really big deal with the organization. Maybe just this top few in the very far right, maybe those are your, what I call the hot zone. Maybe those are the risks that you pay most attention to. So let me tell you the risk of not doing this assessment before we go on. The risk of not doing this assessment is somebody gets all excited about something that could go wrong with the risk, that if you were to do the assessment, it would land way down in the green. But because it's such a big deal to that person, you end up spending a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort trying to mitigate something that really isn't a big deal to the project. It's really not going to impact it that much, and the chances of it happening are not that high. So why would we put that kind of effort, time, and money into something that's not that big of a deal? What we want to do is focus up on where we've set our thresholds, okay? So your hot zones, anything with a high probability rating goes in the red hot zone. Again, you decide how far that stretches. That's up to your team. It's based on the project. It's based on what the leadership, what the sponsorship says, what the stakeholders say. Hot zone risks get a ton of attention, or they at least should. Cold zone, anything with a low impact probability rating goes back in here. And those things you probably, again, set these thresholds. Where are things that you don't really care about or don't feel are going to be a big impact or a big probability? You decide where they go in here, and you decide what your green zone is. That's something you as your team can work on together. Everything else is monitored. You can look at it, everything in this area. Maybe you could color that yellow and say, hey, they're flags we want to watch for. But you're not going to put a lot of time and effort into it. The red zone is where you want to spend your time. Any questions on this before we move any further ahead? And I'll grab a drink of water here. Any questions at all? Okay, I don't see anything at this point. So we're gonna keep plowing ahead here. All right, thank you. So again, the hot zones, cold zones, everything else, you get to determine where the zone lines are. So we're gonna take a segue here. We've planned, we've analyzed, we've mapped out all of our risks, we've got our strategies all figured out. Well, we haven't figured out our strategies. Let me walk that one back a second. We've mapped out our risks, but now what are we gonna do? We're gonna talk about it over a hot cup of coffee. So here's another risk I'm taking today, and it risks Dana may come back and haunt me for this, but we'll see what happens. So we're gonna do a risky coffee. Now I really need everybody's input on this in the chat box. So today I'd like to give somebody a $10 gift card to Starbucks, but it's going to be risky because it's free to enter the contest. I'm not charging anything to enter. One person that submits, all you have to do is type in your first name, even though it already shows. Well, I tell you what, the chat shows who it's from. So just type in yes. Just type in yes if you would be in on this. But wait just a second. One person is going to win a $10 gift card. However, one person who enters is going to have to pay for that. After all, hey, the webinar is free, right? It's worth 10 bucks. So here's the deal. Would you participate under those rules that I'm going to give away a $10 Starbucks card, but you may have to pay for it by entering? How many yeses do we have? I see 1, Anybody else willing to participate? Okay, there's a couple of you. All right, another? Nope. Okay. All right. So there's a couple. All right. So, okay, well, I just got a text message from Dana. I can't do one of those. I can't make one of you pay the full amount. So that's against the rules of Southeast community. So I tell you what, how about this? How about we share the risk? How about I pay for half of the card and somebody pays for the other half? So in other words, you can enter to win the contest. You can enter to win still, but instead of one of you having to pay $10, all you have to pay is $5. That's not the winner. Somebody's going to win, but somebody else has to pay the $5. I'll pay the other to pay for the card. Who all's in on that? I can't calculate the risk because I don't know how many are in the pool. That's good. There's about 20 if everybody. Nope, still a lottery. All right, Becky. Scam alert. I love that one. Okay, good. All right, good. Okay, so not too many of you are willing to take that risk. Well, that's okay because Dana just sent me another text message. She doesn't even want to make you pay half. So being the very fast typer that I am, I've already dropped this into my presentation. So we're going to do coffee insurance. We're going to take coffee insurance. That is, if you enter, you buy insurance for $1. That dollar ensures you don't have to pay the $10. But somebody still wins a $10 coffee. So we're buying insurance that says you won't have to pay the $10, but somebody still could win. So are you in? Okay, I see one yes. Nobody's willing to pay $1 insurance. Sure, okay, no way. Okay, all right. So not too many of you are just too keen on this. All right. Okay, Dana, all right, I hear you, no insurance either. Running out of options, so tell you what, let's try this. Let's have a no cost to enter. You won't have to pay anything, but for every entry, there's an unentry. And if the entry is selected, the entrant wins. If the unentry is selected, then nobody wins. So the risk here is that you've risked wasting your important time, but at least there's no money in it. So would you be in now? Somebody's not interested in a Starbucks card, okay? Are you selling? No, I'm not selling your information, Jennifer. Okay, anybody else in? No money, no risk, but you just might not win. Okay, we've got, oh, Jill's in now, all right. Okay, anybody else? All righty, well, nope, time is costly. Good point. Okay, so Dana called and said, okay, you have to give it away, no strings attached. I don't know if you heard me talking to her, but she said no strings attached. So this is what I'm going to do. This is for real. This is the real deal. No, not selling your information. And as a matter of fact, it's a one-time thing. I think Dana has all the email addresses. This is for real. She'll pick a winner. No strings option. All you have to do is type yes, you're entered, and I will promise I will get your email address, use it to send you a Starbucks certificate, then I'll throw it away. Who's in now? Bob, I'm really in now. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Getting a little more response. We've mitigated the risk. We've got it out of there. Okay. So keep typing if you're in, and Dana will pick one of the names, and she'll send me your email address, and I'll send you a $10 Starbucks card. It is for real, I promise. So Dana?
Yes.
Jeff Cosgrove says that Frederick owes me $10. I don't know if we can help with that. Pick a winner, Dana, and then afterwards you can just send me. Becky Kramer is finally in. That was hard getting Becky pulled over to the dark side. All right. So go ahead and pick a winner, and let's see let's just name them, and then whoever you name, I will get you a card.
All right. So if you want me to choose now, I'm going to have to give it to Jeff Cosgrove because he was in through every single one. He was
All
willing
right,
to play the risk.
all right. Jeff, you are the winner. So Jeff, I'll get your email address after this is over and I'll send you a $10 card. So thank you. Thank you for playing that game with me. So you've just been through several risk mitigation strategies. Kind of tried to have a little bit of fun with that. I hope you did. I sure did. I love some of the comments. I can't help you with the $10 Frederick owes you, but and I could have used some coffee this morning, Bob says. All right, now maybe we'll work something out with that too. So you've been through several risk mitigation strategies. There was a risk in all of the contests. You might win $10, but somebody would have to pay $10, and it could be the same person actually. You might win 10, but you'd have to pay 5. You might win 10, but you'd have to pay $1 for insurance. You might win 10, but it might be a waste of time with twice the odds against you. Or you might simply avoid all risks by only playing when you have a fair shot. So in projects, it's all about mitigating the risk. So what are some strategies for mitigating the risks? Eliminating the threat by eliminating the cause. That's the best option. And I think Becky is the person that did that the best. She waited until all threat was gone. All threat was gone. And if you can avoid it, if you can completely avoid a risk, okay, let's look at an example of that. If you are building a very delicate building in Nebraska, you probably don't want to build it in the spring. I'm not sure when you want to build it, but with the weather here, it can be kind of crazy. But with the tornado threat and things like that, if it's a very delicate building that as you're building it, it could blow over very easily at the building stage, you're going to want to avoid that completely and maybe build in September when the chances of a severe storm are not as great. Let's see, what's another avoidance? Somebody have an idea for what an avoidance might be? A way to avoid a threat? Do you want to just type that into the chat box if you have an idea? I'm trying to think of maybe I use the idea of me not showing up. That an avoidance for that, you can't completely avoid me not showing up, but Dana could have done some things like emailed me this morning, called me, hey, are you going to be here? So those are some avoidance strategies to help avoid that issue. Any ideas for your projects, how you can completely avoid a threat? Careful, okay, good, Jennifer. Careful selection of the project team. I like that. That's very good. You avoid getting the people that you know are going to create an issue with your team. That's tough. Let's admit it. That's tough to do sometimes. Most projects, you're kind of stuck with the people you get. But if you can choose your team, that helps. Always have a plan B. Yes. Yep. You can avoid it by having a plan B. So you can mitigate, control. The next step down is mitigate. Control or reduce expected value of risk by reducing the probability or the impact. So maybe you can't avoid it completely, but how can we reduce the potential probability? How can we reduce the potential impact? That's probably what Dana did when she sent me an email this morning reminding me how to get onto Zoom and
So just in case, for those of you that are with us, Steve's going to just jump out and jump back in. We apologize for the inconvenience. Steve just all of a sudden got a little bit fuzzy. I'm sure. Good call, Terry. Right. No plan B.
No, Dana is our plan B. So
yes, I'm plan B. We have to talk to Steve about his risk mitigation when he gets back. Having a plan B. I'm not sure what happened. It just got goofy all of a sudden. So we apologize. He's going to try to jump back in. I know we're kind of getting close to the end, but it's always good to have some final thoughts and if anyone has some questions about today's session.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Better? Okay, good. All right, good. Well, I apologize for that. We'll keep going where we left off here. So where we left off was allocate risk to someone. Do you see my screen okay? Probably not.
No, we just see you.
Okay. And I apologize for that. Okay. Let me share that screen here. All right. How's that? Still no?
Everything looks
We're
good.
good.
Okay, great. All right. We just have a few minutes left here. We'll try to, and we're close to the end. So you allocate or assign risk to someone else. Maybe you buy a subcontractor's time to come in and take over a part of the risk. Maybe now if we go to the opportunity side, maybe you exploit. You increase the opportunity by making the cause more probable. Maybe there's some things you can do to make it more probable that risk, that uncertainty happens. All right. Maybe you share. Maybe you realize that, hey, I'm company A. If I work with company B on this project, their expertise will help me get the project done sooner. So you share the risk, the positive risk, with another company, or you share the negative risk as well. Enhance or increase the value of expected time, quality, or value of risk by increasing the probability or the impact. Now, another mitigation strategy that's very, very real that you could use is simply to accept. Say, yes, I know there's a risk, but the project is so important. What I have to do is so important. We're going to just do it. Or we're going to create a plan B, like somebody said. Or you can escalate, take it up the organizational food chain, take it up to the next person up there. So there are a lot of different options that you can do or that you can take to mitigate a risk. So hopefully those give you some ideas. Probably you're already doing some of this stuff, but it is real project management stuff. And hopefully it's a good reminder to those of you who already do these things that these are valid. So in a nutshell, that is how you get a grip on risk management. You realize there's the threat or an opportunity. You brainstorm the possible risks. You decide which ones deserve your attention. And then when the risk appears, you respond to it rather than simply react. That's how you can help to get a grip on risk as you're working through your projects. So do you have any questions, any thoughts? Go ahead and let me pull up the Q&A here. And you can either ask it in the chat or in the open questions in the Q&A session. Do you have any thoughts or questions based on what we've talked about today, about how you use the matrix? Do you have any words of wisdom? I would love that. If somebody could say, yes, I have an example, this worked for us. Anything like that at all? Okay, it looks like everybody's being very quiet right now. That or I'm not on.
Nope.
All right. Well, this takes us up to almost the top of the hour. Really appreciate the time today that you guys took. I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate you putting up with some of the technical glitches that we experienced. But hopefully that helps with risk management. If you have any questions, I'm certainly open to helping you out the best I can. It's been a pleasure to work with you today. Dana, do you have anything you'd like to add? Or Luke, anything you'd like to add?
Nope, I think I'm good. Just again, we appreciate everyone for taking time out today and joining us. Like Steve said, we hope you had a good takeaway. And yeah, we look forward to the next session coming up here in a couple of weeks. And any feedback you have for us, please feel free to share through chat. Anything we can do better or differently would be much appreciated. We really are just trying to do these to help all of you out. So anything we can do differently or topics you want to hear about, please let us know.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a great long weekend.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.